Oh, hello! Happy New Year, everyone! Yay! Happy New Year! Woo.
Yay!
We were just talking about Kim's avatar on Discord, at least, and I think it's also on Twitter, um, where your daughter has changed your avatar. So in my head, what's going on? We had this thing already dating from back in school. If you didn't lock your computer, people would come in and they would send around an email like, "Hey, I'm buying cake tomorrow." Woohoo! So it's something like that.
That's right. Lock your computers, kids.
All right, there you have it. Yeah, so I guess what happened is Kim didn't lock his computer, and his kid now changed everything to a cat in a McDonald's box.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
That's a great way to start the new year, Kim. Great. So you're not in your regular dungeon. What's going on?
I'm actually in the same dungeon, but I'm packing it up. So I'll be moving overseas in a couple of days. So next community stand-up will be in European time zone.
Yes, you'll be in my office. We'll be here together.
That's right.
With a box of McDonald's. That's our thing now. Cool. All right, that's gonna be a big move, but yeah, it's gonna be amazing to have you a little bit closer. Maybe we can meet. That would be great. Okay, so how are the other people doing? I think I missed one or two stand-ups. I'm so sorry about that. Life happens sometimes. Brandon, you seem to be a little bit of a different angle. Everything went well.
Yeah.
New Year's, Christmas.
Yeah, we're moving into a new house, and I've been in this room a couple times for some stand-ups, but you can see there's a fresh coat of paint behind me. We have some painters. They're still finishing up, so you might hear some weird noises behind me. But yeah, we're gonna be fully moving in here this month, and yeah, I got to get my new office set up. So I've got my microphone now. I've got like my real camera going, so I don't have to use my laptop camera anymore. It's exciting.
Cool stuff. Everyone's moving. Jay, are you moving?
I feel like I should move too, right?
How's everything going, Jay?
Great. It's been a great holidays, like end of the year, New Year, January. Had a lot of fun with my kid. There's snowing outside, so
really?
I went out for the sled, with my kid, having lots of fun.
That's so cool. That's so important. Yeah, I actually still have some time off right now. I had 2 weeks of time off, and it was needed to just have some quality time with the family. They started complaining a little bit. Yeah, so one of the questions already, Jose, I think it's Jose. I'll get to address those people, no worries. Jose Silva, thank you. I think you're here a lot, so thank you so much for also being here in 2023. Could you talk a bit about the status of the media element component? And even if I have time off, I'm not good at muting, deleting all my apps and that kind of stuff, so I still have them. And I get a lot of questions about the media element. And Jay has at least been moving his code into my PR. So we also have support for Tizen. And we are working. There was a ton of comments while I was away, so I have to work through some feedback there. And from the PR, you can still get the NuGets. So please do that already. Don't use that in production. I've said it here. Don't do that. But try to use it. Try to see what it does. If it crashes, then we would probably want to know now, because I really want to release this only if I'm really happy about it, because the other one, it was great. It did a fine job, but there were some things here and there. So I just want to be confident that this thing works before we put it out there, and that we're not, seeing some avalanche of new bugs coming in. We want to focus on fun work, right? New features, new things, make you happy with the media element, and not be, oh my gosh, we should have fixed this before we released this. So that's kind of the status. I'm hoping to get it released rather sooner than later. I wanted to have it released already, but this is just to reiterate. This is a project that, while there is a couple of people of Microsoft attached, it's still a project that we do in our free time. So, sometimes we have a little bit more time, sometimes we have a little bit less time, but we're doing the best we can. Speaking of a lot of time, I don't know why I make this connection. Sean, you have a lot of time. No, you're a busy man. I know that. Sean, what have you been up to? Have you had some nice time with your family, doing some nice things?
I have, yes. I managed to do a lot of book writing over the festive period.
Oh, that's right.
But I can confirm I finished everything. So actually now I've been taking a couple of weeks off with the girls. It's been really good.
Yes, That's great. And I already read the book because I was the technical reviewer, and it's going to be amazing. So go out, reserve the thing. I will be tweeting about it whenever there's something publicly available. So go check out that book by this guy because it's going to be great. And the most beautiful technical reviewer ever, of course. just saying. Vladislav, what have you been up to?
Yeah, hello. I'm happy to be here without traveling. So I'm happy to be in my hometown. And I'm just traveled from 2022 to 2023. Yeah.
Time travel.
Nice. I like that. Really good. Really good. It's still good to see you here. You've been working on some great PRs. And you said in the Discord the other day, and sadly, it's kind of true, like you were working on the dialogue. So there's a whole dialogues thing. Maybe we're going to talk about that. I'm not sure. That you want to move into the community toolkit as well. And, it's just less... can I say sexy on stream? It's just less sexy, right? It's just dialogues. It's nothing like playing videos, and that's really cool, right? So but it's definitely a great PR as well, and you've been working on that. I know that, and some great other things. I've seen some blog posts, I think a New Year thing with an animation and stuff, so go check out his blog as well. There's some great stuff going on there as well. Pedro, where have you moved to?
Oh, I'm still on my home, but probably I'll be traveling via digital nomads, that I think in English, not know, but no traveling to Brazil while I working like I did last year.
So Pedro, cool. A mission just popped in my head. You have to. So how many people are we now? 6, 7, excluding you. So we have 6. So you have about 2 months for each person to travel there, digital nomad style, and just be on the same location as one of us on each stream, basically.
Oh, that
challenge accepted.
Like a great challenge. Right. Yep. Let's do it.
All right, great. So it's good to be back, people. Here for a new year, fresh energy, and we're gonna do some new things. I'm taking a little bit longer because it's a new year. I'm also looking at the agenda. It's kind of empty, so we're just gonna do a little layback stream and go through all the things here. I'm seeing lots of people in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. There was some other literally everything. I just saw you in the live stream for the .NET MAUI community stand-up as well. And you're asking, when will the media control be released? Scroll back a little bit to before, do the little time travel thing that Flat does, and then you'll be catching up in no time, because I talked about that a little bit as well. Maybe we'll get back to it. I don't know. What do we have more? Thank you. Huge achievement. Oh, is that Kim congratulating Sean? Probably. George is here. George is a community contributor. He's finishing up the documentation for the is in range converter. So thank you so much for doing that. And yeah, nothing more. I saw that Brandon started sharing a screen, and then I started to talk about other things. So we need to work on our coordination here. Yeah. So the other thing that we're doing,
synergy.
Yeah, synergy. Yeah. The other thing that we're doing, well, maybe you did it, Brandon. So maybe you talk a little bit about it.
Sure. Yeah. So something new we're going to start doing this year is publishing our monthly stand-ups for both sharing the agenda. So these are all the topics we'll be chatting about today, and also a link to the stand-up. So if you ever miss one, you could always subscribe to .NET Foundation on YouTube, or you could always manually search YouTube and try and dig it up. But we'll put the links right here every month so you can easily find them. This is right here in our wiki. So if you ever come to the communitytoolkit.maui repo, you can just select this wiki tab, and here on the right is where we'll be sharing our monthly stand-ups. And to be honest with you, we've been doing this every stand-up. We put together this agenda internally, and we shared the links internally. And so figure, why not just share it with everybody? And also selfishly to help me find it easier. It seems like every month I forget where I saved the agenda from last month so that I can copy paste the template, but now it's all here. So welcome to the agenda, everybody.
Yeah, and we put it in like we have a Discord thing going on, so we put it in the Discord with the group chat. But then people start chatting, so it moves up, and then I have to scroll up, and oh my gosh, it's a mess. So this is great. I thought it was a great idea. So thank you for that, Brandon. Before we get to the rest, this person literally everything that I just mentioned as well. I noticed that they asked the same question in the other stream as well. Is there any plan to bring all the Community Toolkit MVVM to Microsoft Toolkit MVVM as well as other community toolkits? I don't really know what is being talked about here. Do other people have an idea? Because I don't really know what might be going on.
I believe, I'll look this up on the fly while we're chatting about it, but Microsoft Toolkit MVVM, I believe was the old name for what's now the Community Toolkit.mvvm.
Okay.
I think that was before.
Oh, gotcha.
So I'm looking that up right now just to make sure. And if we go to NuGet, or I'll even let me share my screen. Let's see, share screen.
Yeah, that might be true while you're figuring things out, because when I started the initiative for this toolkit, I also started the toolkit with Microsoft.toolkit.whatever, thinking it was fine. And then I had some people on the phone in my emails everywhere saying like, oh, you can't do that. So I think this was indeed like, and Brandon, you can probably tell the story a little bit better than it already says like deprecated and you should go to Community Toolkit, right? So that was the old name, because starting with Microsoft as a reserved name, it wasn't really great for reasons, historical reasons, blah, blah. And now with the unification with all the toolkits, we decided to go for Community Toolkit star, basically, right? So we have Community Toolkit.MAUI, we have .mvvm, we have just .net, I think. So we have a couple of them now. This big umbrella of all the community toolkits. So then back to kind of like the question, is there any plan to do that? No, because it's a deprecated package and you should be using Community Toolkit.mvvm now, right? That's the full story, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Basically,
the opposite direction from Microsoft MVVM to Community Toolkit MVVM. Yeah, in that case, I just suggest to create a discussion for features you missed, and the correct repository would be Community Toolkit/.net. And yeah, probably it will be the best way to get the answer for a question there.
Exactly. If there's something missing or whatever, open an issue to discuss whatever you're missing and see what the status is, if we can get it updated or whatnot. Logistically, it's a totally separate team that's doing that. The Microsoft Toolkit MVVM or the Windows Community Toolkit has been around for much longer. I don't think they do this stream, do they? We should convince them to do that as well. But it's a totally different team, and they're pretty awesome as well. We are in touch with them about all the things here. But yeah, so if you're missing something, go to that repository, open an issue, or see what's already there, and get in touch. Cool. All right. I was going to see if someone was going to say something. No. Community Toolkit announcements. I see none in our public agenda here. So no, I already talked a little bit about a media element. I'm hopefully in the finishing stages of that. The PR is there. The PR is no longer in draft. I did that at the end of last year. Like, hey, I'm ready for reviews. I think the API is complete, blah, blah, blah. There have been some great improvements already by people. Jay came in, he added the Tizen implementation. So a lot has been going on there. I'm still off work this week. Next week, I'm back to work. So then I'll also be picking up my kind of like side project time and whatnot. I'll be getting back into my regular habit. So then I'll start looking at things and hopefully get it tidied up soon and release soon after that. That's the announcement I have. Proposals, also none. Issues, flat. We have Expender issue in a scroll view broken on iOS. Why did you break it, and how are you going to fix it?
Yeah, this issue was assigned to me, so I want to discuss it. Yeah, so if you scroll down, you can find that when we have Expander inside of scroll view, which is in vertical stack layout, when Expander expands, the scroll view doesn't work. It happens in case scroll view initially hadn't like scroll bar, but then I was able to reproduce it with this behavior which is discussed. But when I added more items and scroll view initially has a scroll bar, it works as expected, and I attached a video there. So my question about it, should we fix it on our side and add initial check what is the parent of our element? If it's a scroll view, force to call the scroll bar that scroll bar should appear, and in other side, I suggest to fix it on .NET MAUI side, where they fix it for the scroll view and force it to enable like resize, understand that the children resized, and just display the scroll bar and enable scroll behavior.
Yeah, I mean, looks like there is some kind of issue inside the scroll view because, if the child changed its content or its size changes, that should call the invalid layout and measure everything again. But yeah, not sure about why that is doing. Like, is it just for expander, or also that happens on other controls as well? Like, if you change the size of an image, for example, if that will trigger the scroll view measurement thing.
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably I should also try to change, just resize some element and see this behavior in if it's reproduced for other controls. Probably it's an answer that it should be addressed to the .NET MAUI team, because even for now we already have like a implementation for check if our parent is collection view or list view and make some measurement from our side. If we add a scroll view, who knows what other elements we will need to add there. So probably it would be nice if it will be fixed on a framework side.
Yeah, that's kind of like the interesting thing, the angle that I look at it from. Like, right, if is this something for .NET MAUI? And I see two things. I see that it's mentioned that it works on Android, right? So that's already one thing. And the other thing that's a good thing to try, Vlad, to see if other elements, if you resize it and then it doesn't scroll on iOS, but it probably does on Android. I kind of expect that to happen. Then that's definitely a bug on the .NET MAUI side. And we basically should fix that. That's, to be honest, also what I would expect, right? If you have something wrapped in a scroll view, then it resizes and suddenly it needs scrolling. It should scroll, right? That's what I would expect. So I would say that's definitely a bug on our side. Yeah.
Even if you talked about Android, even expander works without any changes in collection view and list view. It works out of the box. But we decided to fix it on our side for iOS. So
but the interesting challenge that we have then is, right, that there is a lot of open issues on the .NET MAUI side, right? So is this going to be something that is high priority to the .NET MAUI team that they're going to fix within the next week? Probably not. So then, if we want to help our customers, so to say, if we were thinking in boxes like that, if we want to help our customers for the toolkit, then we kind of need to fix it on our side to get them moving, right? So that's kind of like the interesting balance that we need to find here.
And if we fix it in the toolkit, so I'm just guessing here, but I imagine what we'll do is we'll override I forget the name of the method, like size changed or something like that. So we'll override that, check to see if the parent is a scroll view, and if it is, then force a new measurement, something like that. And if that's the case, if we leave that code in and the .NET MAUI team fixes the bug, let's say it gets fixed in .NET 8 next year, we forget that we fixed it on our side, I still think it would work even once the .NET MAUI team fixes it, right? So like we wouldn't then have a breaking change with them fixing this bug because we fixed it. You know what I mean? Like,
would we just get a slight degrade in performance because we might be forced?
Yeah, probably.
And probably it can be in like infinity loop when our method call their method, their method call our method, and
I have an idea. Like, it's something that I didn't have the time to try yet. But Vlad, if you can push a PR on how you solve this issue, that way I can play with that. But my idea is like have an extension point just for scroll view and for collection and list view, where the user will be responsible to implement that. We can already have like that coding inside your library, and the user opting to override that or call like I don't know, an action or function, and we override how we do the measurement inside the expander. So he can use our implementation, or he can provide his own implementation and use that. But at the end of the day, when that get fixes on the .NET MAUI side, the user just delete the code. Or if he wants to customize something, he will have a point off to hook up his stuff.
But if we put some code, probably, if I correctly get your idea, so we put some like methods that user can re-implement or reuse on their side and call it. Will it be a breaking change if then we remove it?
No, because we can use like the same idea that the MAUI does with handlers for the platform factory view. So when you have a handler and you want to create a platform view, inside the framework, it checks if the function or the custom method is not null. And if not null, execute that. Otherwise, we execute the one inside the .NET MAUI. So, it's like a extension ability point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if we create a virtual method and put our code in there, and then basically we'll call that method whenever, somewhere in our code that triggers on the size changed, then whenever .NET MAUI fixes it, we could just delete the code from our method, but leave it virtual. So if anybody has overridden it, then their code will run, but we don't do anything anymore. So that way it wouldn't be a future breaking change. Like we would never need to get rid of it. We could just remove our code, and if somebody wants to override it, they can, but now they don't have to because .NET MAUI fixed the bug.
Yeah, that works as well. Sure.
We just have like a weird empty method. But yeah, legacy code, right?
All right, so I think we have a path forward here, at least somewhat. More things to investigate. So the next one, Pedro, is a update or an issue with the Use MAUI Community Toolkit Analyzer.
Yep. So to give you a context for those who don't know about it, is like we have an analyzer that that accuses error when your application has a reference to our package, but on the builder method you don't call use community toolkit, use MAUI community toolkit method. So we just prevent you to build your application just to remember you, hey, you are referencing our library, so you should initialize it. And library authors are complaining that when they added the community toolkit to the library and they ship the library and they reference the library on the application code, like the mobile application code, the build crashes because our analyzer says, hey, you should call the user community toolkit on the mobile application code. So in general, this is the issue. And the fix here is, it is by design this way. So we will not fix that. And the reason is the way we design our project. We have two CS projects. One is called the core, and one is called the community toolkit. That is basically like a controls a project. So when you use our NuGet package, that is the community toolkit.maui, we designed that to be used inside the mobile and desktop applications, not for library applications. The library applications, you should use the core project, and you ship that as a NuGet package as well. So at the end of the day, if you are using the community toolkit.maui package on your library, you are not doing what we designed the library to do. So we cannot. So if you find some issues there, like we want to fix that if you can, but it's not our top priority. So you should not do that. And at the end of the day as well, you can go in the Visual Studio and disable the analyzer. I believe that I commented on this issue how you can do that, and the analyzer goes away, and that will not prevent you to build your application. If I didn't put that, I will add that later today. So I know that, yeah, I put there. So I know that people will be sad with that because they want to build the project and maybe hook on our controls and behaviors and whatever, and they will hit the issue. But again, like let's imagine another scenario. Oh, my dog is sorry about that. So let's imagine another scenario where we override our handlers and you have two libraries that override the same handler. Which one should win the race condition? A or B. So that introduces another error. So again, at the end of the day, we don't want you to use our library on your project. We're going to use on your mobile project. If that makes sense.
All right. Yeah, so I guess if like you said, like if this is something that you want to use in this way, like this person Baker Hill pins, that's fine, but that's not really our target audience primarily. So we can leave the issue. We can so that is known. Maybe we'll reach the end of the issues. We'll look into it. But probably your best chance, if you want to have this, if this is something that's important to you, do some suggestion, do some PR on what your way forward is. What is your solution? We're the community toolkit. We're in this together. So if this is something that's important to you and you have some way of wanting to use this, then we're all open to that. So I think that's kind of like the current status. Brandon?
Yeah, and I was just saying, for what it's worth, I've spent a lot of time trying to figure this one out. It's definitely not something we're blowing off because, yes, it's been open since July last year when we introduced this feature. And just in case anybody's curious, we introduced this analyzer to ensure that the devs using our library did add .use MAUI community toolkit, because we had a string of bugs come out where people were reporting an issue, but really they just had forgotten this one line of code, which is, yeah, it's in the docs and there's a README that pops up when you saw the NuGet package, but let's be honest, who reads that? So why not have this analyzer that will throw an error if we don't detect that you've added this line of code, because, well, you kind of need it to use our library. So yeah, like Pedro said, we hadn't anticipated folks using the community toolkit library as a dependency on their library, which I think is great. And right now, yeah, they'll just have to also call .use MAUI community toolkit in their code. But the things I tried, I had a couple ideas. Like, one was, what if our analyzer could only look at, say, a first level dependency? So if you added our NuGet package, then we should use this analyzer. If not, we shouldn't. I couldn't figure out a way to get that or to do that in .NET, at least not right now. The other idea I had was, you can see here in Pedro's recommendation, is if you add this to your editor config, set the severity to none, that'll also work. And so I thought, well, what if we give a recommendation or a workaround that library creators could add a editor config into their library, and that editor config gets added to any future library that also adds their NuGet package. And I couldn't figure out how to do that either. So I've spent many days trying to figure this out. But yeah, I think for now, please, if anybody out there knows how to do one of these workarounds, open up a PR. But I think our recommendation going forward is just, you'll just have to add in this line of code, or the consumer of your library, if you have a dependency on the community toolkit, they'll have to add this line of code, put that in your docs, put that in your README. It's a little weird, I get it, but at the same time, I kind of also imagine most developers use the .NET MAUI community toolkit, or most .NET MAUI developers will be using the toolkit. So should be something they're familiar with already, hopefully. But yeah, if anybody out there knows how to fix this, please give us
Help us.
a PR. But yeah, we can't remove it just because, like I mentioned earlier, we get a slew of issues from folks who just forget to add this one line of code, and it was slowing us down. We couldn't focus on fixing other bugs and reviewing PRs because we had to validate these issues, confirm that it was just missing a line of code. And this was kind of our workaround to make sure that even if you don't read the docs, like I don't, that you'll be good to go with the MAUI community toolkit.
One thing which is not maybe great, I don't know, could we provide some way to kind of like short circuit this behavior? Is that something? Like,
Sorry?
you know, if I'm that library maintainer and I want to, you know, implicitly add the community toolkit without adding all this, that I say like, hey, I'm gonna disable the analyzer somehow. Like for us, it's enabled by default. If you install it by default, then it's fine.
I don't think so because
because it's
we
all
ship
like
this analyzer as a DLL inside the
Yeah.
NuGet package. So you'd have to figure out a way to like remove a DLL from a NuGet dependency.
Is it like a private asset, so
Yeah.
there some kind of attributes can do it for us?
Yeah, like use it for source generators, then we don't ship like all the Roslyn packages.
Yeah, I don't know.
That could work, but I'm not sure. If anyone tried that, please let us know on that issue.
Okay, well, I just threw some new thoughts in your head. No, so that's just one thing I think. The next question is like, do we want that kind of behavior? Do we want people to allow to do that, basically? But yeah, all right. Well, we've talked enough about this for Pedro's dog to become silent again, so that's good.
I have one more idea.
Oh, sure.
And this might bite us because it's going to be more work for us. But the only other thing I can think of is we ship like community toolkit.maui.library or something like that just doesn't include the analyzers. But I think that would be more confusing for every other dev who's not building a library. So probably wouldn't want to go down that route. But that's the only other thing I can think of to fix it today. But
and another
that's
issue is also like if you have the community kit on your mobile project and you bring a library that uses our community kit. So even if the library has that analyzer disabled, our package on the mobile project will throw the error, you know. So yeah, that becomes a recursive issue at the end of the day.
All right. Well, interesting question. Not top priority for us, but definitely interesting question. If you have something, please let us know. Touch effect, also something that, Pedro, I was going to say Vlad, that Pedro knows all about.
Yeah. So to be honest, I took some time off and a lot of beer, and I didn't remember if you discussed this on the last stand-up or if you voted that. So just in case, here we are again. So to give some context, we have the touch effect. I know is a feature very, very requested by community. And I am porting this from effects to behaviors, platform behaviors, and I finished the Android implementation, the Windows implementation, and now just missing the iOS and Mac Catalyst part. So I don't know if you need to vote this, but it's almost done, and probably we will have that in a couple of months.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like it's already been approved. So.
Oh, okay. So it's already
done
voted.
That on. Yeah, we must have did that last year, December 1st. I assume that was probably our last stand-up date.
I guess.
So nice work, everybody.
Cool. Yeah, already approved. There we go.
Yes. Yeah, that was fast. Quick.
Let's get working on it. Yeah, so I think that's one of the other ones that we get a lot of questions about as well when that will be ported. So yeah, this will be good stuff for people also moving over from Xamarin. And what Brandon said a little bit earlier, like we're hoping that this will be the package that everyone is the first thing to install if you're creating a new .NET MAUI application. And with all these great features, that is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then at some point we'll just be included by default in the templates. And then we've made it. That's how it works. PRs, we got a couple of PRs as well. One is very interesting, which is kind of like more while I'm talking, I'm realizing that this is all the Vlad and Pedro show and me. I'm talking always, and Brandon a little bit. So we should come up with something for Sean and Kim and Jay to talk as well. Anyway, Vlad has been doing some great thing on the issue management side, where we have the, we have a little bot provided by Microsoft or the Fabric bot. I'm not really sure, but we were using it at the official Microsoft repositories as well. And Vlad, you've been adding a little something that if we add the needs reproduction label on an issue and we don't get any response in 5 days, then the issue will be closed, right? Because maybe the person already found a workaround, maybe something else happened. That's the story, right?
Yeah, because usually we have a lot of issues where we ask user for needs reproduction. First we edit a template where we kindly ask user to provide this reproduction link. Then we receive an A for that, like not available, not applicable. And yeah, it's still blocker for us to move forward with that issue. And the result of that pull of that issues, I decided to create a fabric JSON file and partially copied it from .NET MAUI, where they also have a similar approach where they just close the issue which is not active for some period of time. So here I added 2 steps. The first one, in the 3 days, we provide a message that issue will be closed in 3 days if no activity. And after 5 days, we close that issue that we haven't received any response from the user. So in that case, it will help us to keep our repository more cleaner with small amount of issues. Also, it will so users will provide us a link if they actually have it, so we can move forward with the bug fix and easier to reproduce the issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Just the main issue that I have that I'm not a Microsoft guy and I cannot verify if that changes works or not, because like Fabric bot is only for Microsoft guys.
I just had an idea for that, Vlad. What if, let's see if everybody's comfortable with this, I could promote Vlad to basically have admin access to the repo, which would allow him to push changes directly to the main branch. So something we could do is, assuming we want to merge this, I think we do, but we'll merge this and then let Vlad play with it. So like open up an issue, put the needs reproduction label on it, confirm it closes. And if it doesn't, then Vlad would have admin access to just commit directly to main for this fabricbot.json file. Because that's really the only downside of this PR is that you can't test it unless it's in the main branch. So if Vlad has to open a PR every time, we could have 5 more PRs after this. Like, okay, let's try changing this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try changing this. So we could promote you to give you that access to just commit to the main branch, which we disable for everybody who's not an admin, because you should open a PR. But I think in a case like this, it's something where like you want to iterate on it a couple times without having to go through the overhead of, hey, Pedro, please review this PR so I can merge it. Okay, it didn't work 3 days later. Okay, Pedro, please. Like, whereas I think, Vlad, you could probably knock this out in a couple hours if we gave you commit access to main.
Yeah, that sounds good. I do, of course, have access to validating this stuff. I think there's a portal or something, so that could be the other thing. But giving access to main, I trust Vlad, so that's going to be fine.
Is it possible to reduce from days to minutes as part of the first test, so you don't have to wait 3 days?
I don't know. I don't know how retroactive this is. So if we closed every issue in like 2 minutes, we might be closing like a dozen issues, which maybe that's also the point of this. But just something to be aware of. I think that's a good idea too, though, for testing.
Or probably I can change it. I don't know if Fabric bot work only for main branch, or we can set up it for some specific branch. And
I don't know. I think we've been testing this, so we should look into this.
I made this. I'm the one who configured the Fabric bot, which for anybody out there who's curious, fabricbot.json is what controls Microsoft bot. So anytime you see Microsoft bot commented on this issue or Microsoft bot added a label, that's all done by this Fabric bot. But I have no idea if there's any other way to test it, because I did it all on the main branch.
I tried to create it for my own branch just to copy this file, and I haven't received any. So probably I need to just install some bot, but haven't found like docs for it. So it's like an internal tool.
Yeah, probably. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Do you want to say something?
Yeah, Vlad. The only other thing, and to be honest, I haven't reviewed this. I'm sorry. So if it's already in here, great. But what I'd really like is a immediate trigger once we add the needs reproduction label that has the Microsoft bot leave a comment. So as soon as we add the label, Microsoft bot will comment something like, the needs reproduction label has been added. This issue will be automatically closed within 3 days if a reproduction has not been added. Something like that, just to let people know that, hey, you got 3 days, because otherwise every time we add the label, we'll also have to leave the same comment manually. And I'm going to forget that. I'm going to forget to do that. And then somebody's going to be upset in 3 days when Microsoft bot closes it. Like, oops, sorry. Yeah, I forgot to tell you you're on the clock.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
This as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's good. We do that on the MAUI one as well, I think. So just to give a little notification of, hey, this is happening, and we need action from you to prevent this from happening, basically. And yeah, for the reproductions, please just add them right away. Then we don't need to do all this. Because I always explain it like, I much rather spend that time fixing the actual issue than trying to read your mind, what might have been going on, what your code might look like. That's not fun for anyone, basically. And then maybe I can't even figure out what the problem was, and I burned a whole bunch of time on nothing. So that's not great. So please just add that reproduction to prevent all of this, basically, and we can get going immediately.
Yeah, I look at it like, if your car's broken or making a weird noise and you take it to the dealership, you don't just drop the car off and go fix it. Like, you're going to have to tell them it's making this noise, or when I turn the steering wheel to the left, this clunking happens, to give them at least a place to start. And maybe it's not the problem with steering wheel, it's something else, but the steering wheel is what at least triggers it, and then they can start there. But yeah, it's for us, it's the same way. It's just saying like, hey, this doesn't work. And we go, okay, well, what doesn't work? And you go, not my problem, fix it. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. So having that reproduction helps us. So again, we can fix the bugs more quickly. We can add more features more quickly. We're not burning time trying to guess. But also, I've personally found whenever, like, I found a bug, let's say in .NET MAUI, and then I go to report it, when I make the reproduction, I usually find out sometimes it's not what I thought it was. It's actually something a level deeper. And I only figured that out once I put together this reproduction sample. So it also helps really focus and narrow down the scope of the bug too. But please, yeah, reproductions.
Reproductions, just do it. That's a new slogan. So we have another PR about the dialogues. We talked about that earlier. Vlad, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, probably Brendan should provide more details. So, yeah.
Someone talk about this.
Sure. So this is a good one. So another awesome PR from Vlad. He's adding in the ability to save a file and choose a folder, cross-platformly. So I think this is great. I've reviewed it. The code all looks solid. The only thing I want to chat about today is just the name. And here, if I pull up, let me pull up that class if I can find it. But basically, right now we've got two interfaces. Eventually, I'll find them down here. We have iFolder Picker and iSaveFile Dialog. There it is, iSaveFile Dialog. So yeah, this was the only one I want to talk about. And I haven't figured this one out yet, but right now we have save file dialog, and inside it is the method called save async, which, if you read the documentation, it tells you exactly what it does. There it is, allows selecting a target folder and saving files to the file system. My only thing is, when a user calls this in their code, they'll call iSaveFile save file dialog dot save async. And just trying to think of a better class name, a better interface name. Like I threw out just, it'd be cool if we could just, this is iFile, and then you'd have file dot save async. And that, again, without reading the docs, I would be really intuitive because you're saving a file. But as Vlad pointed out, file's already being used in the .NET BCL. So we can't use file. So yeah, what do we use? Like what would be intuitive if you just were typing in IntelliSense and you saw class name dot save async to save a file? What could we put there?
What about just file dialog? Does that work? File dialog dot save async.
The only concern I have with file or with the word dialogue is like we're not saving a dialogue, we're saving a file.
Sure.
I know that's real nitpicky, but yeah, like I don't know. Anybody in the community, feel free to throw in some comments here, because yeah, naming is hard. This is ready. We just need a good, solid name that also doesn't conflict with .NET.
I just chose that name just because it already exists in WPF, and they already have like open file dialog, save file dialog, but I don't remember actually the name, but probably open async. It's at least for open file dialog. I don't remember about save. So that is why I decided if people migrating from WPF to these controls also for UWP applications, it's also called the same. And yeah, maybe we should just keep the name. If we remove like dialog, for example, we have open dialog, folder picker. If we just remove the word, for example, picker, we only have a folder which already will be conflict with existing folder class, which we actually also have in this CPR. Yeah.
Oh.
Because
don't know why I just thought of this. So if this is folder picker, and we have pick async, what if we call this? Would it be weird if we called it file picker, save async?
But we do not pick file because file doesn't exist at the moment of calling this method. So we, the result of this method, we select folder, create file, and write content to that file.
There's a suggestion in the chat with dialogs.save file.
Does this method save file will override if there is like a file with the same name, or you just create a new one?
The system will ask you if file exists. Do you want to override it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, like save file. Will be better than any name that I that I bring here anyway.
Save file dot save async.
Yeah, or like save file dialog dot save file async or any kind of that.
The other thing I was thinking about too is like if we wanted to expand this, so that's kind of why I initially threw out. I was like, let's call it iFile. Then we can have save async, open async. Like we can add more methods into it. But maybe that's overthinking it a little bit. So I don't know. Maybe we put it just a timer on this. We'll say like in a week, if nobody's come up with a better name, we merge it. But keep in mind, we're stuck with this name forever. It'd be a breaking change to ever change this in the future. So
yeah, I like that one from
Markup.
I hope that I spelled his name correctly. Like file manager.save async. So if you merge
file manager.
Like if you merge those interfaces, I save a file and I fold the picker and you call it the iFile manager, that will be easy to expand in the future. And we can have partial classes to separate the implementation of them. That we don't need to change too much, and the name will be good, I hope.
I think that might be a winner. The only thing I would tweak is, so I love, thank you, Mabruk, for file manager. But if we have file manager dot save file async, because save async to me sounds like we're saving the manager, which I don't even know what that means. But there we go. I think George has nailed it. We call it Vladilog. George, good to have you, man. Yeah, what's everybody think about if we do file manager dot save file async?
As for me, file manager sounds like a application name, like a manager of all files. Like, is it too abstract? Maybe.
I mean, it could. I could see a PR in the future adding like file manager dot open file or delete file. I could see methods added to that.
Interface segregation. So we like put a lot of changes into one interface and we extend it.
What do you mean, Vlad?
So probably I would say that we should have like a small interface which only will be responsible for one thing. But file manager sounds like we can extend it and it will be like just bloating with a lot of changes, with a lot of methods.
So I can definitely see, like we're saying, like open async, delete async. What else could go into a file manager?
Download.
I think, yeah, but we already have, we already have methods from .NET for file and for folder, which allow us to just delete it without like. So idea here is just like the main word in this, like not a save or file, probably the dialog.
Yeah, I think what you mean, Vlad, is that this has some UI to it, right? This provides a UI to actually save that file, and it's not really about the file operations, but it's about that dialogue that we have this unified kind of like UI that we show to do these things, and not so much the actual file operations.
There is, I know it's not exactly the same. There is secure storage that deals with the storing of secure values.
Yeah.
Could we have file storage?
Like that as well.
But isn't it still the case it's not really about file storage, it's about dialogue still?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of both, isn't it? We are kind of blurring those.
Yeah.
It does show the dialogue and save. So you'd almost have file storage, save with dialogue, basic.
I see now. Okay. This makes a lot more sense to me. Thank you. Because there is a dialogue, and that dialogue will have the save feature. So this is more of a UI thing than anything else. We just also happen to be putting the functionality in the same. Oh, goodness. You guys just broke my brain.
Well, that's the end of the stream. We broke Brandon. Goodbye. Until next one. Let's hope he's fixed by then. Yeah, we are on time.
So I'll circle back to you, Vlad, over the weekend now that I understand this a little bit better, and maybe we can figure something out.
Well, it can be like simply I save dialogue, I dialogue, where we have like save file async. But I really suggest to keep the dialogue part in the name of the interface.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is breaking the dependency between the UI save file dialog and the functionality for save async. But I'd need to re-look at all the code to really understand that and how we could even re-architect that. But yeah, we have about a minute left. So looks like we're definitely gonna be going over. And this is certainly a good one that I wanted Pedro to talk about.
Yeah, not sure if we will have enough time to discuss that. But we can leave that for the next month, and you can move with the small ones, because I believe that will take a little bit long timer to explain and discussion.
Here, a little teaser. Everybody come back in February where we can talk about, let's see.
Yeah.
Is this a quick one, Vlad?
Yeah, this one is quick. It's just about our version of nightly nugget packages. So we have it 1.0, and it's a problem for user who because they usually have a dependency, which means that our community toolkit depends on version 3 and later. So if we just update our version in our CS proj file to 3, it will be fixed for that issue. So any objections if we follow the same versioning for our nugget nightly builds?
Not at all. Is it possible to reference the GitHub repo's latest release? So otherwise we'd have to change this number manually. And I know I'm going to forget to do that.
I think
Probably
there's
we can modify
Connect
it.
tag.
We can modify it in YAML file when we publish the build. Like just set the version of our nugget package, or we can manually update it in our csproj file.
Yeah, we are doing. I would be surprised if this is not already. Yeah, this is already in the YAML file. So we should just update that version basically. But yeah, it's I don't think there is really a way to kind of automate that.
There are NuGet packages to do this task.
I guess so. We should look into that, but at the very least, it's possible to just update this file or this value in the YAML right now, and we should be good to go for a short-term solution. But we should definitely be like you say, Brandon. We are going to forget this at some point. But yeah,
can you use a GUID?
Sorry, can we use what?
A GUID.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna work.
All right.
We should just ask NuGet to get a feature in that you can kind of order by date or something like that. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in. Like I said, it'd be great if we could automate it by just referencing the latest release. If not, then that one's kind of on us. All right, 3 quick ones. These are MAUI markups before we leave everybody till next month. But just wanted to share this really cool PR opened up by HobDev. This is on the MAUI markup repo where he has taken advantage of a new feature that we added. I think Sean championed app theme bindings a couple releases ago, and he's updating the sample app to basically implement light mode, dark mode using the app theme bindings. So wanted to share this with folks because it's cool. So if you're looking for a way to do light theme, dark theme in C#, this is the way to do it. Let's see. Let me share this in our chat. So check this out because we're going to merge it in. I've actually asked him today. I was like, this is really cool. I'm sure a lot of other devs would want to do this too. So if he doesn't mind, we should have some docs on this. So if you just Google how to do light theme, dark theme, theming, .NET MAUI, C#, then we could add some docs. But yeah, basically, I want to merge this. This is just for the sample app. It's not changing the library, but I think it's a really good example, and I'd love to share it in the documentation. So just FYI to anybody else who's out there looking to do some light theme, dark theme.
On that topic, I'd be happy to take on that documentation task, seeing as though I probably should have done it as part of the app theme binding.
Oh, cool.
Previously.
Well, thanks, Sean. Yeah, feel free to chime in. I just left this comment like an hour before we jumped on the stand-up. So yeah, feel free to let them know. I did add some tags on there just to make sure I didn't accidentally merge it because I really want that documentation. And if I merge this right now, I'm going to forget, never do it. So thank you. And then the other, this is actually a discussion in the MAUI markup repo. Let me share this in our chat. Discussion. And this is interesting because this was actually moved from the .NET MAUI repository. So somebody opened either an issue or discussion in .NET MAUI's repo. They sent it our way because it does align. You can see they're saying like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could just do this, like new grid, new label, constructor passing the text, and then say .column size, font size, or that's column, not column size. And so it aligns really closely with what we're already doing. And I actually commented, got to scroll down a lot. There's been some good discussions here. So good news and bad news. I was literally just chatting about this with Pedro this morning because I was like, well, all the .NET MAUI controls are all partial classes. So since they're partial, couldn't we just make a partial class that adds in these new constructors? And then the new constructor could look something like this, where it just has a default parameter for every property. Turns out you can't do partial classes that are in separate libraries. So I've crossed that one out, but did want to leave this other topic of creating more extension methods for the missing .NET MAUI properties. This actually is the goal of community toolkit.maui.markup is we'd love to have an extension method for every single .NET MAUI property. We're obviously not there yet. Otherwise, this discussion wouldn't be happening. But yeah, for anybody watching, if you'd like, or if you find missing extension methods, like, we recently added a bunch thanks to community contribution around view. So like view.background color. So that's in there now. But yeah, as you're using the library and you find a missing extension method, just open up a proposal, open up a PR. I'd love to get those in there. If I'm being really honest, a lot of this is just me. And as I make my apps, I do them all in C# and I do them all using community toolkit.maui.markup. And as I find one that's missing that like I needed in my app, that's when I come in and I add it to the library. So anybody else out there who's going through the same thing, you're using MAUI markup and you find a missing extension method, yeah, just come in and add it. I know I don't have them all in here and I apologize, but that is the goal. So slowly over time, we should be adding every missing extension method in here. But feel free to jump in this discussion. There's also chats going around on the MAUI repo around adding these constructors, which right now that's the only way we can do it is if the .NET MAUI team adds in a overloaded constructor that takes in all the default properties as parameters. Maybe someday. I love this idea. I think it'd be nice. So Gerald, maybe you can poke them a little bit and say, let's write a source code generator that does this. But
I'll try.
Maybe someday.
I'll try. But it's a long way poking here from the Netherlands to wherever they are. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right. Yeah, that was a lot of stuff. We still went over time, which is pretty amazing if you think about it, because we didn't have much, and then we talked about the stuff that we had too much. We didn't hear enough from Jay, Kim, which is not something that I blame you for. We just didn't have stuff. But we're ramping up. It's a new year. Amazing stuff is coming. We've seen it all. So thank you all so much for joining. We'll be back in February, like Brandon already said. First Thursday of the month, we'll be here at this time, but an hour earlier. Kim will be on this side of the pond, which will be amazing. I think, right? That was going to happen this month somewhere.
That's
all
right.
Awesome. Hopefully without McDonald's boxes. We'll see. And yeah, take care. Talk to you next month.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.